A brand is no longer what we tell the consumer it is. It is what consumers tell each other what it is. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. Bonjour, hola. A very good evening to one and all present here. I, Angelina Titus, will be your host for today, and I consider it to be my utmost privilege. Hope you all are safe and secure in your respective homes. I would like to cordially welcome you all to the Pharma Mark and Insight to Pharma Marketing webinar, which is a collaborative effort between IPSF, that is Indian Pharmaceutical Association Students Forum, Pune Branch, and Entrepreneurship Development Cell of Pune College of Pharmacy. I express my sincere gratitude to our honorable speaker, Mr. Subba Rao Chaganti, who will be enlightening us with the topic related to pharma marketing in India. Mr. Subba Rao Chaganti is an executive coach, a teacher, mentor, author, and an independent pharma marketing professional. He specializes in strategic planning, executive coaching, teaching, and writing. He has published 6 books, namely Handbook of Pharmaceutical Marketing in India, Game Plans for Post-GATT Era, Compete or Forfeit, that is, the strategies for the sustainable competitive edge in pharma product patent era, Pharmaceutical Marketing in India, the Today and Tomorrow, Bullseyes and Blunders, lessons from the 100 cases in pharmaceutical marketing, and Digital Pharma Marketing Playbook. We are so overjoyed to have you amongst us, sir. Now I would request Dr. Satyanarayan Sir, the Chief Coordinator of EdCell PCP, to kindly share a few words. Satya Sir.
Okay. Yeah. So good evening, one and all present here. I welcome you all for this today's session arranged by Entrepreneurship Development Cell of Pune College of Pharmacy and also Indian Pharmaceutical Association Students Forum. It's our pleasure to welcome today's speaker for this session, Mr. Subba Rao Chaganti. Welcome, sir, for this program. I welcome you on behalf of Bharati Vidyapeeth deemed to be University Pune College of Pharmacy and also on behalf of the IPS Student Forum. The participants, I think most of you are already aware about the institute. Bharati Vidyapeeth deemed to be University Pune College of Pharmacy since its inception involved in such kind of activities like motivating the youngsters to become a successful entrepreneur through this entrepreneurship development cell. As you all are aware that the current scenario is highly competitive and we need to be successful in the life means you need to develop your skills. The skills in the sense, lot of leadership skills which we always talk in our college, that is highly needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So such kind of lectures will definitely motivate you all to become good leaders in your life. Today's topic, I think the pharma market, the speaker will be providing some insights on pharma market because I just remind of my career when I started my career in the year of 2000 as a marketing fellow I worked as a marketing representative for Cipla. So, you know, any entrepreneurship quality, it doesn't need that it should come directly. It will start from as an entrepreneur, but you always can get more experience from different kind of fields, right from your student's life, even whatever the field you are entering there, the ability, the experience, what you are learning, that can really help you to get more experience so that you can also plan for your entrepreneurship. So in that way, today's session, I hope really it will be more useful for you from the most experienced person of today's speaker so that we can get more insight in this topic. So I don't want to take more time. Once again, welcome you, sir, for this session. And I'll just request you to kindly start with the session. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening to you all. And because I just received about 8 questions on which I should be covering in my introduction. And I would like this to be more than a speech, because what happens is, in an interactive, if the meeting is interactive, it will be far more meaningful. So let it be a Q&A session mostly. But however, I would try to address in the introductory remarks the 8 questions that have been given to me in the same order. I suppose every one of you must be having these questions. I'll read out the question in any case. Now, pharmaceutical industry in India, all of us know, has really made rapid strides, and it's made the country proud. We are known as the pharmacy of the world today. I mean, all these details are known, so I will not really tell you about it, because today the pharmaceutical industry has grown, and then naturally it offers a number of opportunities for pharmaceutical graduates, postgraduates, and doctoral students. Now, the opportunities are in both technical as well as marketing side. On technical side, you all know that you can be in manufacturing, you can be in quality control, you could be in research. And on the marketing side, there's selling and marketing jobs. Now, the first question was, what are the opportunities that are available in the marketing as such for pharmacy people? Now, the pharmacy marketing offers 2 kinds of opportunities. One in pharmaceutical selling, the other is pharmaceutical marketing. Now, selling and marketing is not really divided. The marketing covers even selling, really speaking. But pharmaceutical selling, the entry-level opportunity is a medical representative or a medical detailman or a professional service representative. The designations vary from company to company, but it is essentially the entry-level job of promoting the product. The basic job of a medical representative is to promote the company's products to the physicians, pharmacists, hospitals, and all the other stakeholders that are involved about the company's products and their relative superiority. And above all, he should be able to generate prescriptions in the marketplace to achieve the targets that are given to him. This is that. Now, the second promotion, or probably the first line sales manager's job, is the first executive position in the pharmaceutical industry, which is an area sales manager's job. Now, the designations could vary from company to company, which is essentially a first line sales management. He's the first line manager who has got to lead a team of 5 plus or minus 1, depending upon the size of the company, representatives. So he needs to coach the representatives on the field in joint field work. He needs to really evaluate their performance. He needs to provide them the direction. He needs to coach them and guide them and teach them how to improve the in-clinic performance, means with communicating with physicians, etc. So he has to meet doctors, convince them, and generate prescriptions. And he has to meet the chemists to really monitor the progress of the prescriptions that he's able to generate and the competitive situation, how his products are doing vis-a-vis the competitive products. And he also has got to manage the distribution in terms of making the products available in all his territories. So the managers oversee this work and then help them guide. And then there are other opportunities for growing up, for climbing the ladder, in terms of regional sales manager, which is a region which is much more broader in nature, and the sales manager and the vice president, whatever the designations are. And then total national sales management function. Now, people can grow, and there are a number of people who have been pharmacy graduates who have grown and made a mark in the industry. There are hundreds and thousands of them in the managerial positions in the pharmaceutical sales with a successful career. Now, with each level, the responsibility increases. Because the moment a person becomes a regional manager, even profit responsibility is assigned to them, which means he has to manage the expenses of his region, the promotional expenses, the traveling expenses, and plus the profitable product mix. Are we really selling the right kind of products, which will give you the margin? And these complexities increase along with each level. Now, as far as the marketing is concerned, the entry-level position is a product executive or a product manager, depending upon that. But the designation, the responsibility is the same. And then product management is what most pharmacy graduates I have seen over the years are really interested in. And then that's also they're appropriate because they have the technical knowledge required for promoting a pharmaceutical product. An in-depth knowledge about pharmaceutical science behind the product's advantages, the diseases, the symptoms, and the treatment modalities, and the various aspects of the clinical trial studies and how to present them to the physicians, etc. They also have to develop the communication strategies for their products and train their representatives and managers to really, and equip them to really fight in the marketplace, to fight competition. Now, the product managers, that ladder is like this: group product manager, marketing manager, vice president, etc. So this is about it. And then there's another position which is coming up for the past few years in India, although it's a product specialist or a medical affairs manager or medical sales liaison, as it is known across the world. Now, the medical sales liaison function is essentially the first internationally in regulated markets like US and Europe. It is the PharmDs or MDs who are essentially the medical sales liaison officers. In India, probably PharmD will be an appropriate one to really enter into that. Or otherwise, probably some companies may take the very even masters in pharmacies as well can enter that. But what is required is, now a medical sales liaison or a medical affairs manager, or he's not supposed to promote the products. He has to talk only the science with the physicians. He should not solicit prescriptions. Well, this is largely followed in the international markets. In India, it is not. Of course, there are not many medical sales liaison managers that the profession is coming up. There are actually, today this function is being utilized in India by most of these companies to really promote complex products where more science is involved, where detailed technical expertise is required to discuss to the doctor on a one-to-one level, and to present clinical studies and clinical trial reports in a more authentic manner. The reason why medical sales liaison's qualification is required, because they need to establish a peer-to-peer relationship with the physicians, which does not exist for any other pharmaceutical executive today in the marketplace in any country. It's only the medical sales liaison which has got a peer-to-peer relationship and a non-commercial angle to that. But this is another opportunity for the pharmacy people. This is about the question 1 in brief. The second question is,
Sir, should I read the
yeah, you can, please.
Since the marketing for pharma products to potential patients or through pharmacists is not legal, how does one ensure that there are maximum sales of the pharmaceutical product?
No, that is right, because the pharmaceutical products, by definition, prescription drugs are prescription drugs we are talking about, not the over-the-counter. Over-the-counter doesn't require a prescription. But the prescription drugs, by definition, need to be dispensed only through a prescription. A pharmacist is not authorized in any country to prescribe a product. However, in the US and probably in a few other countries, therapeutically equivalent products can be dispensed by a pharmacist. The law has been changed. So, but they are not authorized to prescribe. So therefore, they have no direct role to play in increasing the sales of a product. Because the question is not clear. The reason is, if a pharmacist, even if he owns a chain of pharmacy or a pharmacy, he cannot push his product. He has to really cater to the prescription of a physician. But however, pharmacists regulated markets play a very important role in healthcare delivery. In India, it is not the same, but hopefully in the coming years, it can improve a lot. Because today, most of the pharmacists who are really qualified with a minimum degree of B pharmacy are not really manning the pharmacies in the country. It is only the certificates which are being used by most of these pharmacists. And there are not many shops, even diploma in pharmacy students also, diplomates also are not really catering to the needs. But this will change. It will take probably, we don't know whether it will take 5 years or 10 years, but it is bound to change. Because when more and more integrated pharmacy chains and high-end pharmacy chains are coming up. But the All India Association of Chemists and Druggists Association staunchly, has got a very strong lobby. So probably we don't know how long they will fight and then prevent the entry of the high-end pharmacies and probably qualified pharmacists in this region, because there are many chemists, lakhs of chemists will be unemployed. Probably, what's the reason? The dynamics. But pharmacy, a pharmacist does not have he cannot push a product. He has to really cater to the needs of that. Now, what happens is he can add value by patient education, by delivering patient education about the safety of the product, about the dosing, and about ensuring patient compliance. These are the things that about it. But I don't know whether one is talking about pharmacy, a pharmacist in a retail pharmacy, one is talking about in this question, or whether one is talking about pharmacists in general, because they're not authorized to prescribe. This is known to all, but this is about it. So if there's any other dimension to this question, I'm not able to get it. Well, does this satisfy the answer? Because the question is not very clear to me. Okay. But if there are any further questions, because one can later do the next question.
Yes, sir. With digital marketing on the rise, it is being adopted by most of the industries. So do pharmaceutical industries also need to adapt to digital pharma marketing?
Yes, this is what is the question which has been really concerning the whole industry. Pharmaceutical industry the world over has been a laggard to the digital. Rest of the industries have taken, because pharmaceutical industry is highly regulated. You need an FDA clearance for everything. And there are laws, because you cannot really reach and communicate to the patients about your products. Because direct to consumer advertising is allowed only in 2 countries, US and New Zealand. The rest of the countries, they don't allow. So therefore, the restriction, that's the reason why it is taken. But what happens is, digital is not necessarily social media alone. There are a lot of, but pharmaceutical industry world over is taking up for digital in a serious way, including in India. Digital on the technical side has taken far greater strides. Like, for example, enterprise resource systems, like integrating all the functions, and manufacturing and R&D, the artificial intelligence and machine learning are growing considerably. But even in the marketing, there are a number of companies who have taken a lot of initiatives. Because even though the restrictions are there, but there are ways to really overcome that. And digital is certainly necessary. The reason is, access to physicians is coming down. In regulated markets like the US, about less than half of the doctors only see a pharmaceutical company's executive or representatives. Means less than 50% of the people. Because half of the doctor, and there are many hospitals which say no entry to most of these pharmaceutical companies. They are not allowed in the hospital premises to promote their products. They need to have the approval of that. And very recently, I just seen, just about day before yesterday, a WhatsApp video. It's a genuine video. Apollo Hospital, I think it's in Hyderabad. The officer was coming into the parking lot of the hospital and was addressing very seriously a team of people. And the people were medical representatives and managers of various pharmaceutical companies. He says, why do you enter this hospital? You are not allowed. You are not authorized to enter. When things are okay and when we allow you, you can enter. Otherwise, it will be treated as trespassing. We will take very serious action. And he said, I will authorize my security. I will order them to really beat you up if necessary. And these were the words exactly. I don't know, some of you must have really seen this video or anything. No, it's not the video. I'm talking about the shape of things to come. In India, doctors do not refuse visits to pharmaceutical companies for various reasons. For the gratification, for the kind of services that one provides and things like that. But here, even there, the restrictions are coming in different ways. You see in some places in Maharashtra, Gujarat, and many other places, some select doctors are keeping abodes, asking the representatives not to open their visualite, do not talk about the product, just tell your brand name and go, etc. This is before COVID. Now, after COVID, the visits have been restricted in any case. And then, so therefore, the pharmaceutical companies were not really very keen, but the COVID has made the pharmaceutical companies all of a sudden felt a sudden need to engage their customers remotely. So they have quickly adopted some people whom they have known and taken the permission, which is called permission marketing, and contacting them on WhatsApp. Some companies have arranged even WhatsApp groups of the doctors with whom they have close relationships. They're also talking on telephone, and some are having even Zoom meetings. But Zoom meetings and the video meetings, etc., have been rather abused, and therefore doctors do not want, because they've been bombarded with this. But notwithstanding all this, digital is the only way, is a way which no company can ignore any longer. So therefore, companies are really taken up, because the digital transformation, while it has been very slow, it has laid space in India. This COVID-19, that pandemic, has added rocket fuel to that. The change is accelerated. Because the reason is, there are more physicians today on the internet. There are more patients on the internet, even in India. They really browse through the internet, know about the disease and symptoms, even though they won't be able to engage themselves with a conversation with many of the doctors, because in India, the doctor-patient relationship is still subservient. Whereas in the US, it is changing. There are patients who ask, if some tests are not ordered, they will ask, please write it in my case reports, doctor. So that cannot be done in India today. It's not happening, but it will change. Very recently, in fact, one of the thought leaders, Dr. Eric Topol, has written a book. The Patient Will See You Now is the title of the book. He's a technology expert. He's a thought leader in technology, and also a leading cardiologist and a prolific author. His words are not to be taken lightly. I mean, the things are changing. Even in India, also things are changing. There are some educated patients are entering into, assertive patients are entering into dialogues with doctors, but slowly and steadily it will grow. So therefore, and patients are also on the internet. So what happens is, even though you are not able to promote your product on the internet to the patients and doctors, you need to be present, because in a patient network, if something adverse about your product is reported, if you keep quiet, that will catch up like wildfire. So therefore, you need to really clarify within the permitted levels about your status. So therefore, it is mandatory that everybody takes to digital, and that will happen. So digital marketing and engaging both physicians, patients, and payers, and all the stakeholders digitally will become a necessity. And then companies are already adopting it. And there are already some progressive companies. And then digital has got one more example. There is one thing called as closed loop marketing, which is you can personalize your content to a specific physician's needs and requirement. You can take the dialogue on the next visit based on your previous visit. Manually, it is not possible. So therefore, this is also, there are a couple of companies like Cipla and Dr. Reddy's are implementing closed loop marketing. Closed loop marketing is implemented by Dr. Reddy's in their Russian team. Cipla is doing it even in India. And there may be some other companies which are doing it. And then even social media marketing, some companies are taking baby steps. So digital marketing is the way to go. There will be a hybrid. both, some call it a physical, of course it's become a common word, but both physical contact as well as remote engagement are necessary. And then there is also the digital is not an iPad detailing or anything, not the gadget. There are actually website-based detailing, which is not taken off in India, but probably in future it would be necessary. Because today a doctor is not paying attention. Doctor is not giving time to a medical representative. He's probably getting a minute or two just to deliver the material that he has got, not to discuss with the doctor, which is the main job of a representative. But in a branded generic, basically pharmaceutical industry is of two types. Innovator-led or research-based pharmaceutical industry, where products are discovered, where there's only molecule, and for the patent protected period, there's no competition for them. That is one, which are the highly regulated markets. The rest of them are branded generic market. India is a predominantly branded generic market. So where you have the different brands of the same molecule. So therefore, the opportunity for the companies is not the same as it is in the research-based products. Because what can the 100th company, which is promoting an antalgic like cetirizine, can talk about cetirizine? The doctor has already seen about 99 representatives talking about it. So therefore, the boredom sets in. A doctor doesn't look forward for any other information because company cannot give him any information that the doctor already does not know. So this is another reason why companies are, so therefore the branded generic companies need to be much more innovative in their communication skills, both at the product management level, strategy level, as well as implementation level. So digital is certainly will rise. In fact, the crisis has accelerated. The previous chief of staff of President Obama has once famously said, you should never waste a crisis, because crisis is a time where you will do things which you previously thought impossible, which is happening. Remote engagement has shot up in by pharmaceutical companies in India in just a month. The market capitalization of June had shot up many times in just less than a month. It's equivalent to 7 in international airlines market capitalization. So therefore, digital is certainly will be the way to do that. And people who want to enter into pharmaceutical industry needs to become digitally savvy.
Moving on, what happens when there's a product in the market which guarantees better efficacy, and how do we tackle that situation?
When there is a better product, you need to have a product which is better than the better product. That's the only way to tackle. I mean, the reason is every one of us, all of us are really looking for what is better. So if my product is inferior, I have no reason to be in the marketplace. Now, having said that, in a Me Too market, like branded in Indian pharmaceutical industry, how do you do that? Now, if you can't really create physically any attribute, etc., you have to create a perception that your product is better by offering a better service, by by communicating better, and probably by unearthing what the other companies have not been able to promote. You have to really do a reverse engineering of their promotional strategy, of their claims, and find out what is the opportunity, what is the gap that is existing. Can I really cash in on? So it is tough work, but what happens is one has to unearth a way to really position my product differently. How can I really make him perceive that my product is better? Because perception is not manipulating. I'm not saying that, but what happens is, how can I really, supposing my quality of service of my company is better, I can make them perceive my product is better. If all products are equal, service is the one which is the differentiator. And communication. Is there any way that, can I communicate differently? Can I communicate more interestingly? That's the only way. And product has got to be at least as good as the other.
Next question. The product life cycle has 4 main stages, that is introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. So what does one do to ensure that you can earn maximum profits even in the decline?
Yeah, actually, product life cycle management strategy is a huge subject. There are teams which work on the product life cycle management in research-based pharmaceutical companies. Now, the reason is because their patent life is limited. From the lab to from bench to bedside, it takes about at least on an average 10 years for a product to really reach the market. And then at the last count, the Tufts University's Center for Research and Pharmaceutical Development, they have quoted, I mean, their estimation was $2.6 billion. Of course, there are many arguments about this is a highly inflated figure. It is not that. We are not getting it. But in any case, research is expensive, costly, prohibitive for most of the companies. In fact, to develop a product would cost more money than probably most companies' annual turnovers. Right? So therefore, what happens is they need to really ensure their patent life for a longer period. They need to really get as much as they can milk out of their product, because they have to recover all their expenses and they have to ensure a better return of investment. So therefore, these companies, what they do, even right from before the introduction of that, they will start really working about plotting the product life cycle. The introductory stage and the growth, because the product life cycle has got to be superimposed and studied on the product adoption cycle also. Because the product adopter, first innovators will take up the product, then the early majority, late majority, and etc. So therefore, they plot the whole activities, and then when the competition is likely to enter, and decline is typically when a product loses its patent in less than 6 months, it can lose 90% of its market. So therefore, what are the strategies for the decline? So one has to really anticipate that and then think and develop subsequently things like this. Can I really add a line extension? Can I add another product? So if my product is in a tablet shape, tablet form, can I have a oral liquid? And can I have, if it is probably a 2 or 3 times a day dosing, can I really have a sustained release and probably reduce the frequency of the dosing and make it a better product, so that the current patients are transferred to the improved product, so that the product franchise is carried. Line extension is one strategy which most people follow, and then adding the new novel drug delivery systems. And finally, a successive product category. Because what happens is in a product life cycle, you're not talking only about the product. You have to own the therapeutic category. If I have an antihypertensive, this is as far as the research-based products are concerned. So similarly, for a branded generic product, we have to have the same mindset of a research-based company's product manager. So when the decline is taking place, before the decline happens, even during the growth phase, I need to really develop. Nothing prevents me from developing a sustained release formulation, a line extension, and probably changing the flavors. If they're chewable tablets, can you really add more flavors to it? Dizine has done that way back. The popular antacid from the Boots, now about, of course. So these are the strategies. Typically, one can really, these are the options that one has got, that the decline has to be planned, not when, you can't do when the decline has already taken place. You have to really anticipate when is it likely, when you are monitoring. And then for branded generic markets, what happens is, what is the current level of my prescriber base effective? How many doctors are currently prescribing my product? Can I increase others? Can I add a new indication for that? Can I really Supposing in a particular group, if I'm currently practicing only on physicians and general practitioners, can I extend it to physicians? Can I extend it to some specialists? Do they have a role for this treatment? So therefore, there are many options which are available. A product manager has got to be aware, and he has to be anticipate what is likely to happen and plan much in advance. Because when the decline comes, you can't do anything. Because mostly what happens, the easiest thing what they do is during the decline period, people will give a trade-off, a bonus offer, free goods, discounts, bonus offers, etc. Now what happens is, that is like a clearance sale. That will not help the brand sustain. That will only transfer your stock from your warehouse to the distributor's warehouse. Discounts are not, because what happens is when a pharmacist or a chemist does not have any role to push your product, there's no point in giving a trade offer. You have to really manage the perceptions of prescribing physicians.
Okay, sir. What exactly is meant by rebranding strategy?
Okay. Rebranding strategy is usually done when you want to really improve or change the image of your company or the brand. Now, why do you have to change the image or name of the brand is for various reasons. So rebranding requires a massive marketing effort, because it's not merely a makeover. If it's a really a makeover, it is short-lived. A rebranding strategy is a much larger exercise, which is usually assigned to leading agencies by the companies. For example, take here in the US, CVS Pharmacy is a very reputed company, which has recently merged with, which has acquired Aetna, the leading insurance company, right? The CVS Pharmacy, before its acquisition itself, has rebranded, has done a massive rebranding exercise from CVS Pharmacy to CVS Health. Why? CVS Pharmacy was offering many services. So all this, they brought it in an umbrella, which is much broader in scope, and CVS Health is a rebranding exercise that they have done. And in India, close to home, Dr. Reddy's has done a major rebranding exercise a few years ago. What they've done is, if you really look at it today, Dr. Reddy, their logo is changed, because you change your corporate logo, you change your promise, you change your tagline or a payoff line. Because a tagline or a payoff line is not merely a nice catchy phrase. It is the summation of what you stand for. It is an essence of your promises. So Dr. Reddy's today, when they rebranded, which is very popular now, because good health can't wait. Their logo, they changed it to purple, which is a color of health. Pink and purple are the colors which have got significance to really, or symbolically, denoting health. And apart from that logo and the design part of it, good health can't wait is a theme. Now, what they've done, they have had 5 promises to make in that. One is making medicines affordable, making medicines accessible, meeting unmet needs of the patients. So all these, because good health can't wait, it has got such an interesting way of presentation and engaging way of presentation. So what happened? Dr. Reddy's is in an urgency. They don't spare any effort to really meet these promises. And there are 2 ways to, there are 2 kinds of rebranding. One rebranding is a proactive rebranding, because you want to improve the image or change the image for better, like the Dr. Reddy's and CVS Health. And there's another one is a reactive rebranding. This, you'll react because what happens when there's some scandal, or probably when the image has come down, you need to alter it. Or sometimes a merger and an acquisition. When one company acquires another company, they need to rebrand the acquired companies. Sun Pharma has acquired a number of companies in its journey to the top over the years. When they acquired the entire product basket of NATCO, They're not mentioned in NATCO. NATCO has been absorbed into that, and then they really converted into one of the strategic business units. So with each one, similarly, Tamil Nadu, when they acquired, they did the same. They have done the rebranding exercise. And another thing, which is outside the pharmaceutical industry, but in India, is Satyam Computers, which was doing very well and was supposed to be one of the top 3 infotech firms in India, when has gone under cloud because of a massive scandal. Tech Mahindra acquired it. Now Mahindra has been a major rebranding exercise. Mahindra Satyam is today. So similarly, even for a brand, a rebranding exercise is done when you have to really cater to them. It's essentially to improve the image or change the image for better.
Moving on, what skills would give one an edge in pharma marketing and make one better?
Now, the pharmaceutical marketing, what it is really required is like the basics. For pharmaceutical marketing, the domain expertise is one, which probably because of the education itself will give an edge to the pharmaceutical graduates and postgraduates and doctoral students. So that's one. But the rest of the things are soft skills are necessary for everyone. Communication, presentation skills. Because presentation skills and communication skills today, if you really analyze the current, now why is it today physicians are not really welcoming or probably are not really appreciating or giving the necessary respect to the pharmaceutical sales representation is, the medical representation is the very poor product knowledge, very poor communication skills, lack of confidence, lack of understanding. So therefore, what it means is these are the skills that I need to do. If I really am a good presenter, if I have good communication skills, both verbal and written, and I also need today the minimum level of computer savviness. Like I should be able to work with MS Office, not just on my resume, but I should really be good at working on MS Office, including PowerPoint. And the digital skills. I mean, social media skills are also important for today's generation, which most of the students today do have. So these are the ones. Presentation and analytical skills. So when the data is given, so they have to really have an understanding of statistics and data and analysis. Because data is the new ammunition. Because presentation skills, to understanding a clinical report and then to really present it to the physician, they need to really have the skill. See, what is important is you should really make the customer listen to you. You got to get the attention and sustain it. Only when you have the knowledge and the communication and presentation skills, you will be able to deliver. These are the vital skills.
Yes, I want to add something.
No, analytical skills, not only in terms of analyzing, is a sales performance one has to analyze. One has to analyze the competitors' activities. One has to do the competitors' analysis, competitive analysis. Also, one should be really good at every level.
Which course should one choose if one wants to pursue pharma marketing as a career? Should it be MBA or M.Pharm in pharmaceutical marketing?
Right. Like, for example, it is a difficult question to answer, but what I believe in, I'll tell. I could be right or wrong. It's not. What I personally feel is the pharmaceutical MBA programs, pharmaceutical M.Pharm MBA, or MBA in pharmaceutical management. There is no course as pharmaceutical marketing as such. There's a pharmaceutical management MBA, most of these institutes, some curriculums which I've seen. Now, what happens as far as pharmaceutical sciences are concerned, by definition, a pharmacy graduate or a postgraduate or a PharmD would have domain expertise. He will have the required technical skills. They don't really need to understand the pharmaceutical industry any more than that in an MBA course. Therefore, an MBA would do good because what happened is he would also study the other industries. When you study the other industries, what happens is the advantages of cross-pollination happens. You will be able to learn what are the best practices in the other industries. Can I adapt them? Can I apply them to my own industry? There can be some original thinking, and the stimulus to that will take place in a general MBA program. But having said that, any MBA program will not do good, because most of the MBA programs, there are many management schools, most of them are not really delivering good services. Therefore, if it is from MBA, from the top 15 to 20 institutes in the country, it is worth pursuing, not any MBA. Because what happened is the top 15 institutes, if you are really looking at all IIMs and FMS, etc., if you really look at that, and probably now Symbiosis is another important, Nasir Monji is a good one in Bombay, but like that. So top 20, if you take all the important institutes are covered. If that is there's a greater scope for learning, because you would have probably the industry experts coming as visiting faculty to these institutes. And the peer learning is mostly at postgraduate level in a management program. Peer learning is far more important than what you learn from your peers is more important than what you learn from your faculty. So therefore, my feeling is, if it is the top 20 institutes, this is better. Otherwise, a pharmaceutical one, because if any good integrated programs are there, many colleges, they're good, there's no doubt. But the advantage, what I see personally, is cross-pollination of ideas, best practices from the rest of the industries will take place in a general MBA program, because they don't learn much more than about pharmacy and pharmaceutical sciences in this program.
Well, that was indeed an informative discussion. Now we'll move on to the audience Q&A session. So there's one question I'll just read out. In the current marketing competition, some of the medical representatives follow unethical procedure by providing the physicians and chemists the deals to get subscriptions. So what are your views on this, sir?
No, what other views are, like, for example, the representatives follow because their companies tell them to follow. They have no choice. But what happens is, such efforts are short-lived. They cannot really sustain either a personal career growth or even a progress of that company. Because today, the unethical practices are across the world, there's no doubt. But what happens is, in the regulated markets, it is considerably less. And then they come to the light, and there are corrective actions that are taking place. But in India, for the last few years, I think it's probably for about 2 to 3 years' time, the UCP MP code, which uniform practice, uniform code for marketing practices, the government has proposed, but it's in cold storage right now, the Indian Medical Association. The reason, so while it is beyond the scope of the representative to correct it, right? While he has to do what the company asks as long as he's in that work. But such company does not offer him a career prospect, a career growth, neither he can grow. And so those companies cannot do well. Because what happens is, when you are into a gratification, things like unethical practices, like simply correct, because in some companies, even cash for prescription is offered. If you prescribe X amount of thing, a discount is given to the doctor. Now, what happens is, if another company gives another 2% more, this doctor will migrate. He will no longer be your customer. So it will be like an arms race in the past between democratic and communist countries, so is Soviet Russia and US. Increase your spending on military expenditure. So you keep on spending on your marketing expenditure, the company will reach probably a stage of point of no return. There's no point, because unethical practices won't survive. But what happens is, those representatives, because sometimes it may be convenient even for representatives, because who don't want to exert to improve themselves. Because having joined a company, I cannot say that I know it now and I can take it for granted. Continuous education, learning is for a lifetime, which is never more real than now. because competition is so fierce. Unless and until we learn each day, we cannot really stay in the same job. It's like running on the spot. No matter how fast you run, you won't move an inch if you're running on the spot. So therefore, continuous upgradation of skills and strategy is required. And these unethical practices will get nowhere. A representative may not have an option if he's working in a company, but he better improves his skills and then moves over if the company's practices are only this. Because those companies cannot really survive for a very long time. If the ECPMP code is a reality, that will, and of course the industry lobby is working against it, and then the physicians lobby also is working, doctors lobby also is working against it. That's the reason why they have not yet seen the light of the day. But someday or other, sooner than later, it will have to take place. This cannot survive. These unethical practices will not get. And then, if not, even the patients will also learn. Once the patients come to know of these practices, they lose confidence on this doctor. Because what happens is, that will happen. Even the practice of the doctor can get affected very soon. He may not be. Because what happens is, their medicines are not available other than their adjacent shops, what they prescribe. They're almost on a contractual basis. So this is already coming to the light. And then when it becomes a social movement, whether UCPNP comes into force or not, this is bound to happen. So unethical practices are not the way to promote your product.
Sarthak Shukla had asked, how is MBA after bachelor's or master's valuable to the pharma industry?
How is after bachelor's degree?
Yeah, bachelor's or master's.
Or master's. Is valuable to the pharma industry. Now what happens is, today, because of the competition, an additional degree has become increases employability considerably. But having said that, an MBA will really broaden, because what happens is, pharmaceutical industry would get a ready-made candidate who would understand the marketing concepts and analytical methods and things like that, market research, these insights. So therefore, they will be better learned. But in the past, actually, Peter Drucker has once said, you have to do an MBA program after you gain a couple of years of experience, minimum 2 to 3 years. So that's why Ivy League business schools, right, offer that to experienced managers, experienced people, 2 or 3 years on a particular job. The reason is, whatever concepts that you learn in the college, you will be able to relate and apply to them into your work directly, then and there. That's an advantage. But having said that, many of the students in our country, immediately after graduation, post-graduation, they do MBA. And then they do it from the reputed sciences. It will help significantly in their employability. Because what happens is, they have additional knowledge over the candidates who do not study MBA. So therefore, there's definitely a value. And in fact, almost it has become a ticket, like a B.Pharm MBA or an M.Pharm MBA is an entry into product management in pharmaceutical industry.
Madhubala, you can ask your question, please. Yes, Madhubala, you can ask your question. Hello.
I guess there's a connectivity issue, so we can ask Akshata. We can go forward.
Yeah, Akshata, can continue, please.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So, the difference between healthcare management and pharmaceutical management, what does the difference mean? And what would be the job profile for both of them?
Now, when you talk about healthcare, it is just not only the pharmaceutical. Like, for example, it is the total care of the patient in terms of hospital services. Everything is included. Healthcare management is essentially the hospital management and the total healthcare, whatever that covers. I mean, essentially, in terms of the patient care,
Okay.
it is patient-centric and beyond pharmaceuticals. It's not only pharmaceuticals, including hospitals and then the treatment and the patient education, everything. Healthcare is much broad. As it says, pharmaceutical is specifically regarding medicines. Healthcare is a much broader umbrella. So most of the healthcare management, they are getting into hospital management areas because there are institutes which offer healthcare management degrees. No, it's in the context you're asking.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is that.
Okay. So there are different courses online like SAS programming or medical writing and clinical data management. So it could help us, or what is
Now,
the main purpose of that?
clinical data management, many of the pharmacy students are getting into the clinical research, which is an important field. So therefore, they are among the research investigators. They have to really, clinical research is an area where they can get into when you have a clinical data management. That's another important avenue which masters in pharmacy, essentially. Minimum level is masters in pharmacy for a clinical data management. Because clinical research is increasingly taking place. And then in India also, the clinical research, once it moves up, they really require a lot of people to really analyze the clinical data.
So
Even consultancy firms like Accenture, they have. Novartis have got their own clinical research team where a number of masters in pharmacy work as clinical data managers.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Next question. Is public health administration a good course to pursue as masters after bachelor's?
It's a good course to really follow, but I do not know what are the kinds of opportunities may be limited. There may not be many opportunities right now in India in terms of the public health administration. And that by itself may not really be offer a broad scope of employment. Otherwise, it's important. Public health is important. Who can deny that?
Right. Tushar is asking, sir, can small companies sustain in the market which have low budget for marketing the product, keeping in mind the brand companies spending a huge amount on marketing the product?
Now, small companies, when you talk about small companies, if you are competing in a broad area, like for example, in a broader therapeutic segment, it is extremely difficult. Because like, for example, if you are dealing with general products like antibiotics, anti-allergics, if the small companies product mix is general practitioner based, it is extremely difficult for them to compete. Because why? They don't have really deep pockets. They won't be able to invest in marketing expenditure, because if it is a general practitioner oriented product group, you require more number of prescribers to really cover. So that costs more money, more marketing expenditure. But however, if you are in a niche area, if of a specialty like CNS, like neuro, psychiatry, or anything. Like, for example, there are classic examples in Indian marketplace when small companies have become today's big place. Torrent Pharmaceuticals was one. Sun Pharmacy is a class pharma example. They entered into psychiatry with a very small team in 1983. Because why? The chief executive, the founder, managing director, the man who has put Sun Pharma among the top 5 generic companies in the world in this. It started with, you know how many? Less than 10 people in 1983. Because what happened is they started with a niche segment in psychiatry, which was budding. At that time, the psychiatry was not such because mental illness was still considered a stigma. People were not visiting, and there were not as many psychiatrists as we have today. So therefore, that was a very small segment. Large companies have ignored that. Now today, every major company has entered it, because that has become a big segment. So therefore, the niche area, and if you can offer a superior product, if you have a differentiated product which meets the patient needs which are currently unmet, you will have a greater scope. But however, if you choose a small niche area, you don't have to really spend huge money. Torrent, Sun Pharma, Intas, these are the companies which have entered the psychiatry route. Then they've entered into gastroenterology, neurologist, and cardiology. The specialty route they've entered. Now today, every company is having specialty. But if you can invest, Mankind Pharma in India offers a different, because their strategic model is entirely different. When the rest of the people were really following the specialty route, everybody is expanding into niches. In addition to general, once they reached a size, Mankind Pharma thought of a totally different route. They were looking for the fortune at the bottom of the pyramid. What they did was they identified the market from a customer's point of view, because every company is fighting in the urban markets, metro cities and class 1 towns. So these people have gone to smaller towns and said these physicians or general practitioners are not really given much importance by other companies. The leading companies are not covering them or giving the importance. So they're focused on them. They treated them as very important customers. And they really grow. Today, they have become among the top 5 or 6 companies in the world. So it depends on what your strategy is. Your niche is important. You cannot compete in a broader segment where people are spending huge, where marketing expenditure is more.
Avijit Sarkar, you can ask your question, please. Hello.
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, my question is, sir, what can we do, or what is the procedure to promote the generic medicines nowadays, sir? Or what can we do for betterment of generic medicines, or spread awareness about generic medicines? Because, sir, the high number of poverty, high number of men are there who was in downline of the poverty level. So what can we do to promote the generic medicine, sir?
No, the generic medicine, the government is already doing a lot. I mean, and in fact, they'll increase their promotional effort, because the generosity schemes, and then probably by really sending notices to from the government sector. So you want to really start with only a pure generics, because there are pure generics and there are branded generics. If you're talking about pure generics, how can you really, and if you want to market a pure generic product as an entrepreneur, is that your question? If you want to market a pure generic, what you need to do is, you need to really, because you need to really give the generic medicine, your generic drugs, an identity. Because what happens is, a pharmacist or a chemist becomes the decision maker when it comes to a generic. Whatever product that he has got in his shop as a generic medicine, he would substitute that. He cannot really give you any product. And usually what happens is, the power of prescribing shifts from the physician to the retailer in a generic situation. Because a chemist will also give whatever margin, whatever product that offers maximum margin for him, profit for him, he will give that product. He will not give. So therefore, the generic medicine strategy as such, in a country like ours, where quality control is not ensured. Because what happens is, there are more than 10,000 pharmaceutical units, manufacturing units in the country. Earlier, the number was floating as 24,000, etc. But there are 10,000 which are registered units, 10,000 plus. Now, these 10,000 plus, there are only 1,200 or less than 1,500 which have got WHO GMP. certification. The rest of them do not have. So how are you sure that you are getting your generic medicine is of equal quality? And then the drug control department is not equipped to really do the quality control of all these companies. There are backlogs in terms of quality testing. So therefore, what is needed is a corporate branding is what is taking place. Because some of the larger companies are also into generics. In addition to the branded generics, they also offer generic, like Cipla offers generic. So when you have this is a Cipla generic, there is a dependability. They cost less than the branded generic. So similarly, if you want to start a company, you need to really talk about your product is a WHO GMP certified product generic. And then this comes from this company. So a corporate branding may be a better view of really increasing the patient awareness. Like, don't buy any generic. Ask for the quality control. What is the source of the generic is what you need to. We need to really ask the patients to really ask for that. What is the source of the generic? Who is the supplier of this company? Can I search his credentials, whether it is certified or not, whether they have proper manufacturing facility and things like that. So therefore, a corporate branding is what is the generic, like Cipla generics, NATCO generics, or whatever the companies. There are many companies which are into generics. Companies which have got established practices. Now, one thing, this is an era of contract manufacturing. So therefore, many of the companies get manufactured their products. Some of these companies like Sun Pharma, Cipla, Glaxo, many of these companies, they get their products manufactured from the smaller units. But what happens is, when these manufacturers get it done from them, they will ensure quality control. You can depend on them. So one way of doing that is patient awareness in terms of asking for the source of the generic and making clear that your company generic is tested and meets all the quality requirements. It is comparable to the best in business.
What advice you have for a person pursuing B Farm to build the foundation and pave a path towards pharma marketing?
Now, one thing is, number one, he has to really be very good at his subject. Whatever that he studies, number one, is not. I'm not talking about the GPA. In terms of the command over the subject and the understanding, real authentic, the passion for the pharmacy he should have. Pharmaceutical science, number one. And his product knowledge should be very thorough and of a high level. And the second one, he needs to really simultaneously develop his communication skills, both written and verbal, and presentation skills. So if he starts practicing right from the student days in all the activities that the colleges and institutes have in terms of clinical paper presentations, their projects, etc., he should play an active role. And then he should also really participate in the other debating and other sessions, etc. And then probably for the IPM meetings, when the college deputes them, he should be among them. Because he should really be very active in terms of the presentation and analytical skills and understanding the clinical studies. Because they also should really will have an opportunity to understand the disease condition and the standard protocol of the treatment also they are aware. So that he can apply this knowledge when he starts managing his products. Because most of the dream of the people who have studied pharmacy right from the graduate level, I have interacted over hundreds and hundreds of them in the past years. Their dream is to really get into a product management role. Really, because what I mean, that is a starting point of really reaching the top in the marketing management. And there are many people who have done extremely
well. Could you tell us about what would be the future trends that will impact the pharma marketing in future?
No, what happens is, like, for example, there's one debate which goes on often Now, because of the physician's access is getting restricted to pharma companies, will the sales force be redundant in future? Now, but recent surveys, even in the regulated markets, majority of the doctors, over 2/3 of the doctors, or close to 70% of the doctors felt that they need medical representatives. Even though they are not giving them the time or anything, but they say it's an important interface that they want, because they want a human face of the pharmaceutical company, not just a Zoom meeting, not just a conference. So therefore, there is a requirement for this. But what happens is the standards will get tougher. Because to really survive in the profession, what requires is they need to have skills. Today, if you really look at in the current situation in the Indian pharmaceutical market, majority of the representatives are not having even near adequate skills. That is the reason why doctors are not giving time, because they're treating them like messengers or courier. And it's not to undermine the courier or postal service, because what happens is in courier or postal service, what they're doing a very important service, because the representative is not meant for that. He has to really convince the physician about the superiority of the product. If he is not able to get even an opportunity to speak about his product, how can he convince? To get that, what is important is they need to have confidence. To be confident, my knowledge level should be thorough. My communication skills should be good. If I lack any of these, I can't be confident. I can't pretend confidence. Only knowledge gives me the confidence. My skills will give me the confidence. So therefore, the future is bright. But what happens is the entry-level standards will be tougher. So people whoever is prepared and then equip themselves, they will have a bright future. There is no doubt. Product management is necessary. Pharmaceutical industry is an evergreen industry. As long as there is ill health, there is a requirement for pharmaceuticals, sciences, healthcare delivery. So therefore, how I can improve it? How can I make it accessible? How can I make it affordable is the quest that everybody is indulging in.
We'll take the last question due to shortage of time. Like what specific analytical skills are should be there for
Specific analytical skills, basic understandings of understanding data, and a basic level of statistical analysis. Like, for example, what is the growth rate? What is the market share? How do I calculate? What is the compounded average growth? These are the things. How do you analyze? And another thing is, so that when I look at the competitor's sales figures, I will be able to analyze what is the gap between me and the competitor, what I need to do. So this is as far as the analysis in terms of the sales data is concerned, or performance. And another analytical skills that is required is how I decipher, because today prescription research services are available. Particularly for product managers and marketing managers, prescription research analysis is very important. Because the basic job of any person, whether it is in selling or product management in pharmaceutical industry, the name of the game is prescription generation. The company that generates more prescriptions is the one which is going to lead. The company, if is unable to generate prescriptions, it will not be able to progress. So therefore, prescription research analysis, also the statistical analysis itself is applicable, but what happens is whether it is correlation is another thing I need to develop. These are not rocket science. They are easy to understand, but one should have a bent of mind to really learn them. And another thing is to understand the clinical studies. How do I read a clinical paper? How do I really read a clinical trial report? And how do I really, what sense I make use of? I mean, what can I make out of it? And how do I present the salient features of this to a physician in a concise manner? Well, the companies would give the training, but this is a thing, reading clinical trials and is also, because that's also part of the curriculum in any case. So if they pay more attention, they'll be masters at it. And communication and presentation are vital. Because today, in any walk of life, even if you have the best of the knowledge, if you're not able to communicate that you know, if you can't make others know that you know this, you won't be able to do. And communication is necessary. of expressing clearly, emphatically, and confidently.
Thank you so much, sir. So we end our Q&A session. Now I would humbly request our principal in charge, Dr. Atmaram Pawar, sir, to kindly share a few words.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, so I was listening it. I'm very impressed with many things. First, your experience and knowledge, what you delivered to this young generation. And personally, I find very impressive you talk on your views on the sustainability in the during the declining phase, the creating a perception of goodness when the all are equal, mm, importance of ethical practices, and the best example, real examples which are not written anywhere, given about the Sun Pharma, how they started, then the how mankind is started. Really, the all the views and your experience was the great benefited for our students. And what you said, really, we are doing at our institute, that we are giving equal value to the academics and the non-academics. So usually we believe in 50% academics, 10% attitude and attendance, and the 40% for this overall development. And where you find today the students are really doing this activity also very good. So we have that IPASF chapter running very well. So our students are controlling whole Pune chapter, and ED sale, innovative sales. So all the students were engaging there. So that extra activities are really like academics, and it is as per your thought. So really, I will be very happy to see you in our campus also. And so I really
Certainly,
impressed with,
my pleasure.
yeah, with your, thank you, sir, and appreciate these teams of students who are doing excellent work under the guidance of Dr. Satyanarayana, Dr. Bansode, Dr. Mali, who are leading these different activity portions. So whether it is Angelina or the IPSF team, that is Gandhi and other his team. So I appreciate my all the students and say goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request the president of HCL PCP, Shwetanshu Subraji, to kindly share a few words.
Good evening, everyone. And I was really excited for today's lecture because I've been regularly been in touch with Sir for the last few weeks, and I was really excited to know what he has learned throughout his career. And it was amazing, Sir. Thank you so much for enlightening us with your knowledge. And I guess all the like 100+ people who've joined us today will have had an amazing experience learning from you. And we could not take all the questions. I'm very sorry to the audience, but yeah, we had a stipulated time. So whichever questions are left, you can reach out to Sir if you want to. And I'd also like to thank Sir because he's joined in all the way from the United States. So we just managed the time accordingly. Be even though there was a big time gap between our countries, but yeah. So thank you again, sir, for everything. And for all the people who've joined us today, the certification, e-certification and feedback link has been shared on the chat section. So you can open it there and I hand it back. And I'd also like to thank IPA. IPASF is also managed by most of our seniors, and they have been pretty helpful in, letting us collaborate with them and organize this very fantastic evening. And I hope it's a learning experience for all of us and everyone enjoyed the session. And I'll hand it back to Angelina to take it from here and convey the vote. Thanks. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
All right. It's a great honor and privilege to present the vote of thanks. So, first and foremost, I thank our Honorable Speaker, Mr. Subba Rao Chaganti, who graced this occasion with his valuable contribution. I would also like to, I'm indebtedly grateful to our Principal in Charge, Dr. Atmaram Pawar, sir, President of IPASF Pune, Mr. Ayush Gandhi, President of HSL-PCP, Swatanshra Shubrajit, the teacher coordinator of HSL-PCP, Dr. Ashwin Mali sir, Dr. Satyanarayan sir, who is the chief coordinator, and all the members for arranging and organizing this webinar. I also owe special gratitude to all the students who have shown their zeal and enthusiasm and have been active listeners throughout. So I would like to conclude by saying an individual has not started living until he rises above the confines of his individualistic concerns to broader concerns of all humanity. So with that note, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay happy.
For all those who are there, I'd just like to ask one small favor, sir, and everyone, all the participants, if you could just turn on your cameras for a moment so that our editor could take a nice picture of all of us. I'd request everyone to smile for a moment. And yeah. So I guess the editor will be done. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone. We are getting a lot of appreciations from all our faculty members. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And especially Subba sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.